You've already built that safety and that trust with them. And so they know, and you know that when you do have those conversations, you're going to talk it out. You're going to work it out, and they're going to know that you're coming with the best of intentions and not out of, malice.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready, drop the confetti. Get ready, drop the confetti.
Welcome to Remarkable Minds, hosted by Daniel Stark Leaders. Here we unbox insights for professional growth. My name is Claudia Yanez. I do marketing and sales here at Daniel Stark. And today I am joined by Mallorie Adkins and Elvia Zaragoza, both who are paralegals here at the firm, and both are also culture captains. How are you doing, ladies?
Doing great.
Yeah, doing good. I'm super excited.
Yay! Thank you for joining us today. We have a really good topic, really right up y'all's alley, and it is Stop It with the Drama. I love this so much. It's so much about our culture, right? We have, here at Daniel Stark, we have a social contract that really tells us, it's really a pillar to our environment here and how we preserve our culture. And our social contract tells us who we agree to be as leaders and how to handle conflict when it arises. But before I get into that, I really want to back up just a moment and talk about y'all are culture captains. And to many people that they may not even know what that is. And to give a little context, I know that one of the big, I would say, probably struggles we had as we were growing and expanding into our new markets and remote satellite offices is like, how are we going to preserve the culture, right, that we have here into these other offices? And therefore, culture captains were born from that. So just tell me a little bit, Elvia, I'll start with you. When you were offered the position or that position, was talked to, you were talked to about that position, like what did it entail? What does that mean?
Yeah. So initially, I was explained that it was going to be a lot of planning for the office.
Mm-hmm.
And so planning events. And with that, it would be including the other employees or our staff to make sure that they felt included and appreciated. And so a lot of it was planning things like events I'll start with with the beginning of the year. It was like something for Valentine's Day and then Cinco de Mayo, things like that we could include, just a little something to make everybody feel appreciated and feel celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
But part of that was also making sure that the team was following our social contract. And it was a lot of making sure that I was teaching other people about our social contract, culture, and also enforcing some of those things. So making sure that everybody was following what that meant for us and enforcing it. So if there was ever any incidents or things where I felt like I needed to bring it up to the leaders, that was part of what I needed to do.
So Mallorie, how about you?
I love that you said inclusive because that is definitely what it is majorly a part of is, just making sure that everyone does feel as a whole and not just, individuals. We are individuals, of course, and we have our individualities in the office and our different personalities. But, being a culture captain, we bring all of that together. What we do have with our culture is, very great. It's a wonderful thing, and we want to protect that. And so part of that is just keeping that energy up, like you said, the social contract. So if there is any issues that arise, we just resolve it quickly. We go ahead and just bring it to the surface, go to that person and talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you make it a good thing because it's not something scary. It's not something big or hairy or anything like that. It's a good thing because it just keeps your energy levels up. And that's what we really want to protect is that great energy to be around.
Absolutely. And that's one of our commitments is to create an environment that's high energy. And I love that you said connection, a big one is connection, appreciation, give people an opportunity to connect to each other. So y'all are kind of holding all that together.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's other people in the office that are natural leaders and also really great at that and making sure that we're preserving that culture. And you mentioned something as well, when conflict does arise, you want to address it quickly. Why is that so important?
Well, if you don't address it quickly, it's just going to fester.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to constantly think about it. You're going to overanalyze every single aspect of the conversation that you had or the issue that might have arisen at that time. And so it might actually take that time to grow bigger and become something that started out very small and just you should have just maybe have let it go. But if you just go ahead and address it and you're just like, hey, these were my initial feelings. This is how it made me feel. Even if it might not have been that person's intentions, like that's why you want to talk to them, is because you want to let them know, like, hey, I don't think that you intended to do this, but this is how it made me feel, and we need to work on it because I don't want to feel like this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so
Yeah.
important. And I love that you said, even thinking if it's something that we should have let go, because that's probably like number one on our social contract. And I'm going to pull out these little handy dandy. They
I
look
love
like little
those. I
small
love
business
those,
cards.
yeah.
I know they fit in your wallet. And yes, I know we're one of those companies. We have these. We have them on our desk or in our purses, or we hand them out to everybody. Every team member gets one of this, and it's our social contract. On each side, it says we agree to be, and on the other side is when conflict arises. And literally, number one is don't sweat the small stuff. It's so big. Second one is take some cool down time.
Yeah.
And that's probably my favorite one because people just think that taking cool down time is just about time. And it's not just about the time. It's about what you do with that time. It's about taking the time to like really look, okay, is this me? Is this actually the other person? Like how much of my background and my past am I bringing into this? Do I need to go seek maybe my team lead out, maybe use him as a sounding board and like just kind of, if it's still bothering me after a couple of days. So resolve it quickly, even though we also have resolve it quickly. It shouldn't be like an immediate because you should never go to that person when you're raw and hot on emotions. That's
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always a disaster. And I think we've all experienced when people have done that. I don't think it ever turns out well for those people. So those two most important steps, a lot of conflict really dies right there because they don't sweat the small stuff. Or if they do, they take some cool down time and they realize like, okay, this is probably wasn't a big deal. Again, this is probably me. But if it is, then it's like you said, go to that person first. Now, before we do that, I wanted to ask, like, what are some of those flags that you'll normally see in the office or that you, because both of y'all are, you're probably in a bigger office, you're in a smaller office. And so that may look different as far as like, what are those flags? What are those yellow flags that tells you, okay, something's wrong here?
I think for me, what I've noticed in past experiences is probably avoidance, where somebody's more quiet than they typically are, and that maybe they are just more reserved and they just they're not their normal energy level is the best way I can describe it. And typically when I can notice that, I will ask them like, hey, what's going on? Something seems off. And sometimes they want to talk about it, and other times they're just not ready, and that's okay too. But I just let them know, like, I could tell something's bothering you, and so whenever you're ready to talk, like, we can talk, or somebody else can talk. You could talk to somebody else.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be me. Like, just talk to someone. Absolutely. What about for you?
Yeah, I think same thing as Mallory. I noticed that somebody who would typically be more bubbly or outgoing or conversate with other team members is more quiet or reserved, or maybe just a little bit more passive aggressive with comments. Like you're not necessarily saying what you want to say, but you're hiding it behind maybe some comments. And then I'm like, okay, what's wrong? Like, tell me what you really want to say. What is really bothering you? But yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure, more quiet, reserved.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do we hold those people accountable to actually resolving it?
So for me, in past experiences, I've asked them, hey, what's going on? What's bothering you? You know, I could tell your energy level's down. And it comes from a sincere place because I truly enjoy working with everyone that's in my office. And so when I can tell something that's off, it hurts my heart, you know? And I just want everybody to, you know, feel lighter. Life is hard enough as it is. Like, we don't need to keep feeling down. And so I go to them with a genuine heart and curiosity of like, hey, what's going on? And so whenever they do talk to me, if it is a problem that is work related, I do tell them, hey, like, you need to talk to this person. If somebody said something to you and it hurt your feelings, even if that's probably not what they meant. And a lot of the times I know these people well enough, you know, with newcomers, I'm still learning some of them, but with the people who have been there longer, I've learned their personalities. I can say, I can tell you that that's likely not the case, and I can kind of help troubleshoot the conversation with them. But I do always tell them, like, go and talk to them. If anything, just to tell them how you felt, because a lot of the times that's not what they wanted to happen. And I'll check in with them. Hey, did you talk to that person? And again, it's just about making sure that it does get resolved, because I don't want them to feel hurt even longer, or I don't want them to feel angry even longer. And if they haven't talked to them, I'm like, okay, go to this person. If not, like, I can be a mediator and I can help you guys work it out together, or we can help figure out somebody else who can do that for you.
So, Elvia, tell me a little bit about when people want to, like, avoid that conflict. Where does that normally stem from? What have you seen?
Yeah, avoiding conflict. I think a lot of the times it has to do with, it depends on who the conflict is with. So as a paralegal, you have a lot of relationships that start with paralegal and attorney. And I think sometimes it can stem from a place of not really being sure if you can go to that person and let them know how you're feeling. Maybe they're in a little bit of a higher position that you are. Or maybe you just have that feeling of like, okay, they're an attorney, I'm a paralegal. This upset me, but I don't feel like I'm in a place to tell them that upset me. And part of my job as a culture captain is to let them know and empower them and say, hey, absolutely, like, go to whoever it could be. It could be an attorney. It could be somebody in our higher up department. It could be whoever. It could be Jonathan. It could be Danny. If something that they did bothered you, 100% go to them. They would want that. They would encourage that. So yeah, I think a lot of the times I do notice that when somebody is avoiding the conversation, it could be from a place of not really being sure if they could talk to that person about how they're feeling. And so yeah, I typically encourage them to go up to the person and just start a conversation and say, hey, this made me feel some sort of way.
The power dynamics are definitely one of those reasons why people love to, or if they feel safer to avoiding conflict. The other one that I've seen is just they've never seen healthy conflict, like resolve. It's like that resolution, and that can deal a lot with the way we were raised, how conflict was handled in the home throughout our adolescent years. All of that taints the way we view it. And I know that was especially for me when I first joined the team a long time ago, and I had my first conflict to resolve literally the first week I was here. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, what do I do? And I remember it was with another peer, and it was just where I'm a very witty person, and I said, I'm sure I said something witty back. I can't remember now exactly what it was. And it was taken to another level. And I was like, oh, goodness, didn't mean for it to go there. And then there was just awkwardness. And I remember it was awkward for several days. And I know, like, for you, and we didn't have culture captains back then where we were small. But I know that for you, like, that's important because we don't want people coming to work feeling like they got to walk around eggshells and just feel so uncomfortable coming to work. We want work to really be a place that you can enjoy. You're there for 8 hours or so. And so that environment is extremely important. And I remember I talked to my team lead about it, and she held me accountable to the social contract. And I remember being really agitated of having to go talk to her. Like, why do I got to be the one to go talk to her? I feel like she was the one who took it to the next level.
Yes, I've heard that before.
And so like, why am I the one? Yeah, and I go back and I think about the social contract now and who I was back then, and oh man, I had so much growing up to do. But going into that conversation, I definitely did not appreciate the steps in the social contract, because part of it was like, go to that person first, no gossip. Have a desire to reconcile, listen and understand the other person's view, be willing to admit fault. Like, those are like the next, few steps. And I think I like glossed over that portion before I went to go talk to her. And so it was still not a really good conversation. We needed to have like a follow-up conversation, and one where I took more cool down time and to like really think about like, okay, what do I really want? Like, I really want to come to work and enjoy working. And this person sat relatively close to me, and it just felt always awkward. I didn't want that. And so that's what reconcile for me looked like, being able to come to work and just enjoy work and like, hey, how's it going? And be able to talk again, and just without that awkwardness. And we did end up having to have someone come in and just help facilitate that conversation. And I know people get really nervous about getting mediators involved. And we have that literally like the next few, like look for a compromise, be thick skin, resolve it quickly, get a mediator if necessary, and then get over it and move on. And our mediators are really there, like you said, just to help facilitate the questions and help facilitate, like, because a lot of times we don't know what we want. A lot of times we don't know what resolving it could look like, and making sure that we're really understanding the other person's point of view. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like for me, the biggest part when any conversation is to help them understand what the other person is saying. Because again, we all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different scenarios and different tools in our toolbox of what helps us shape those conversations. And a lot of the times, even though might both be coming with a desire to reconcile, they still are misunderstanding each other just because they're not in a place where they can understand that person's point of view because they've never been in that situation. And so a lot of the times it is more so like helping them understand what the other person is saying and where they're coming from versus just, this is what was said and this is what was said and you guys hurt each other's feelings. It's like understanding the why behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Helping facilitate those difficult conversations and be there to help them listen to each other for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We see that most conflict, I would say, comes from, it feels like people get their feelings hurt. And
Yes.
they immediately made up a story in their head about the other person and decided to go with that, created a narrative, and most conflict comes from misunderstandings and just lack of just talking it out. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
what are some of the tools that we do for our team to help them with that? Like one of my favorite all-time books is, do y'all know?
Crucial Conversation.
Crucial
I wanted to say that one, but I wasn't
Yes. That one for me, the first time I read it, read it for consumption. Second time, I was like, okay, read it for application. And it really has changed the way I communicate with people and how I handle conflict. And it's made conflict much more practical for me and less emotional for me. And if y'all recall from that, one of the things is like start with the heart. And that's a really big one. And then the other one is like, what's the agenda? What's the objective of this conversation before going in there? Because so many times when you let your emotions go, you don't even know how you got to this other point. And you realize, though, through that journey, like you've been telling yourself a story.
Yeah.
And it's good to just call it out, say it out loud.
Be clear from the beginning.
Be
Of
clear
like,
from the
hey,
beginning.
this is why we're here. I wanted to talk to you about how I'm feeling before going in, and you made me feel this way, and this is how I'm feeling, and the other person may not even have known that they made you feel that way.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Tell me how y'all handle like the multitude of like personalities in the office.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Really, it's just you have to get to know them, because how can you understand someone? How can you go to them with a pure intention if you don't know how they are as a person? Again, that is partially learning kind of who they are as a person and their personality and where they're from. And that doesn't mean you have to jump into their full personal life and know every intimate detail about all the struggles of everything that they went through. But it's just kind of, if you start to get to know them as a person, you kind of start learning those aspects of where they struggle, or what they feel really strong in. Even if they don't say, oh, I feel really confident in this. You can see it. You can see how they handle that conversation or things that they do where they're really strong suited for. And so when I learn somebody's personality, I try to remember those things and try to be very intentional when I have conversations with them. But as well as like, I've had it where new people in the office thought other people in the office were like, oh my gosh, they do not like me at all. And I'm like, that's not how that is at all. I promise you, this person is just more reserved and they like to just stay focused and they take, their deadlines very seriously. And so if they stop even for 5 minutes, it's because they're being very intentional with their time and they want to talk to you. And so I would rather them want to come to you when it's a time that's good for them than feel like they need to not intentionally push you off, but that's gonna how it's gonna make people feel.
Yeah.
And so I like to learn people's personalities so that I can help with direction on learning for other people to learn other people's personalities.
And that's really key, like getting to know them, getting to understand them, which is why a big part of y'all's responsibilities in Top 5 roles as culture captain is to create those opportunities for people to come together, make connections, get to know one another. Do y'all normally see a lot of engagement in those?
Yes. Sometimes I do feel like I have to give that little push of like, hey, just following up on my invite. I really hope to see you there, because you do have those people that have those boundaries of like, I'm going to come to work, I'm going to get off work, and then I have my time for me. And so getting them to come to those events after work can be a little difficult sometimes. So I definitely make them feel welcome, or I try to make them feel a little bit more engaged with like, hey, do you want to help me set up? And so that kind of gives them that little push of coming. But after they come, it's really nice to get to know them outside of work and get to know them more of as a person than as like an employee or as like a coworker. So yeah.
I've seen absolutely firsthand some of our more reserved, quieter, like maybe they have, like you said, maybe it's the boundaries, maybe they're just like don't like to be around crowds because it drains them.
Yeah.
But I've seen them come and enjoy themselves, and I've even seen them volunteer at other events, and it's been really great seeing that and seeing that little shift that they've have included us and their team, like in their bubble.
Yeah.
And that's really nice because it's hard to do that departmentally. It's easier like within your own department to create those relationships and connections, but to do it like for the entire office, it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
So that's not an easy job that you two ladies do. So at what point do y'all work collectively with like other leaderships, like from the main office, to let them know what's going on, or when there's problems or you need some help?
So for me in a satellite office, it's, of course it's fun to be able to do all the highlights of all the fun things and all the happy things. But also a time that we have to go to leadership is with the things that are not so hard, so easy or so fun. And sometimes that is conflict. And sometimes it could just be the fact that energy seems down. And so it's just kind of, you're trying to figure out why, and you don't really know how to get it to liven back up. And sometimes it's not any one person's fault. Sometimes it's just everybody's got their heads down. They're just working and they're drilling out. But you don't want it to seem mundane. You want them to feel comfortable to take that break from the computer. But we will reach out to leadership if I have like a really hard conversation with one of my coworkers. And sometimes it's just a matter of, hey, they're going through a lot. I think you might need to check in on them because it's your team member. Other times it might be, hey, like I had this difficult conversation. It wasn't easy. This is the conflict that arose. And I did tell them to talk to their leadership or XYZ. And I want you to follow up with them too to see if it was resolved on their end, like if they felt resolved. Because maybe if I addressed it, maybe they don't feel comfortable talking to me about it, and that's okay. They don't have to. But I do want them to be able to feel comfortable, especially going to their own personal leadership, to be able to follow up with that or take any other necessary steps, even if it means for growth for them.
What have we seen on like some of the harder consequences to swallow where we've maybe have tried to get involved, and despite our maybe our best efforts, it just got super convoluted? I know I've seen this before. It's only happened maybe a handful of times throughout, not even 5 that I can think of, but in the past 11 years that I've been here, I've only seen drama, which, by the way, I know we haven't defined it. We're going to define it here in a second. Like just really just fester out and kind of move and seep its way around, especially when we don't have people holding them accountable and what it can do. Have y'all been here during a time where y'all have seen it at its worst? What did that look like?
Definitely. It's really hard. It's really hard because a lot of the times you're not really aware that it's happening. And when you finally realize that it has just become like this big ball of drama, and it's really hard to fix. And you do try your best to fix it. You do have those hard conversations, you have your social contract conversations, you have your mediators, but sometimes it's gotten to a point where it's not something that you can fix.
Mhm.
And sometimes it gets to the point where even the person doesn't necessarily want to fix it anymore. Like it's gotten to a point where they just want to let it go.
Mhm.
And so we have to let go of that person.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult. But there has been some really good conversations out of that. Some conversations can look like, hey, it's no longer going to be, this is no longer a place where you can work. We're going to have to, disconnect from you. But we do wish you the best. And a lot of the times that person is okay with that. They want
Mhm.
that. They want to let go of kind of what's been going on here for a while. But it is really difficult. It is difficult to let go of that person. But we do want to protect our culture. We want to protect our other employees that are here and that have followed our social contract and our purpose. And so it is really hard to let go of that person. But I think sometimes it's necessary to protect each other and other people.
You have to, for the good of your team and the good of the firm, say goodbye to those people.
Mm-hmm.
And we say it when we mean it. From the very first time when they're shadowing with us for their interview is we hire, fire, and promote based off our core values and our social contract.
Yeah.
And that's what that looks like at times.
Yeah.
And other team members will appreciate and respect leaders a lot more for being able to do that, even if that means letting go of someone who's been here tenure, but know that deep down they've been causing drama.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, that drama can be in form of constantly complaining, they're constantly gossiping, they're constantly undermining maybe, decisions that were made as a whole, and they just constantly brought down the energy. And you don't really know, but you can see that people don't really like working with them.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things to really keep an eye out for. So it feels like y'all are one of the qualities that I've definitely seen in our culture captains is that they have really good emotional intelligence. Y'all are very self-aware. Y'all are socially aware of the office and what's going on. And y'all are absolutely approachable in regards to team members being able to come and talk to y'all. And y'all are very curious. So when people do come and talk, it's not like responding with judgment. You're just like, tell me more about this. Let's talk about it. So that makes it great. Have you ever seen it to a point where team members get a little bit too comfortable coming to y'all and maybe using y'all as a crutch rather than actually resolving conflict?
Yes, definitely. I
Yeah.
think especially when you become really close with a specific team member, almost a friendship, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But I think it can become more of like, hey, like, this is what I heard. And you kind of have to like reel it back and say, okay, well, have you talked to that person?
Yeah.
Have you talked to that person about the problem? And address it in more of the proper way that you should, instead of being that friend of like, oh, tell me more, what did you hear? And involving yourself. I think you have to draw a
Critical.
boundary. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because there's sometimes where you do make friendships where they become friendships outside of work, and you talk about your personal life, which of course sometimes includes that drama of personal life drama outside of work, right? And so you do get comfortable. And I have had times where a friend has come to me with culture issues, and it did break trust a little bit because I did have to address it professionally and not as a friend. And that was really hard. But it all came from a genuine place and a place of love for that friend and wanting to make sure that what we had professionally stayed good. And if you are true, it's a true friendship, If it is, true professionalism, you can handle that with, I guess the best term is candor, warm candor, and have those hard conversations. You've already built that safety and that trust with them. And so, they know, and that when you do have those conversations, you're going to talk it out. You're going to work it out. And they're going to know that you're coming with the best of intentions and not out of, malice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely.
What are those benefits that we see when we have great culture? And I'm going to say great culture. I'm going to define great culture for us, like a culture of excellence, of course, culture of accountability, and that culture of just holding our mission, right? Which is to keep clients from getting screwed by big insurance. Everyone is aligned. Everyone is bought in. We have high performers on the team, high energy on the team. Everyone is just kind of grooving together. That's what great culture looks like for us. What are some of those benefits that y'all seen in the office when we have that?
A lot of that.
Yeah.
Exactly what
Everything.
you just said is those benefits. But, again, if you don't have that good energy in the office, one, people don't want to come into the office. You don't want that.
Mm-hmm. Or be part of the team. Yeah.
Right. And so they struggle with not only wanting to even be a part of the office and hanging out with those, events that we do try to plan. Sometimes they're just a potluck. And, there are and whenever you do have that good culture, that good energy, they want to come in the office. They want to be inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get other people involved. And they do try to help out. And their work product, I'm sure, looks way better when they are in better spirits of their environment, the people they are working around, the people they're working with. And so I think that's the biggest part, is just that it does help. Just like bad energy can just kind of grow into everybody else, that positive energy can do the same thing.
It can overflow for sure.
Yeah.
And I love that y'all say that. And I wanted to focus more on what we really do to equip our team members, like with the tools and the accountability to keep our culture, because culture is more than just, like you said, it's more than just like the events that we do, like those events or those things that we do for our team members. It's more for an opportunity for us to connect together, get to know each other. But culture really is in the way that we handle conflict, and the way and our commitment to each other, our commitment to ourselves, and to that continuous improvement. Because when we have that culture of curiosity and we're approachable, and like we said, we're going to hold each other accountable. We're going to learn how to have good, healthy conflict. When we have healthy conflict, then we have better commitment from the team, commitment back into our mission. And when we have that commitment, like there's that accountability, and that all leads to results. And that's what's really important for businesses. And I love that, because a person who really lines this out in the 5 dysfunctions of a team, I think the author is Patrick, and I can't remember his last name, Lencioni. I think I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but he talks about the 5 dysfunctions of the team, and a lot of it is about conflict and how you handle that, which, again, a big part of our culture. I think that's all the insights that we have for today. There's so much more. I know that we can talk about this on and on and on, and it's something that we're constantly dealing with on a daily basis, whether on a very micro level or not too often on a larger scale, thank goodness. And if we're focusing on, again, continuing to equip our teams with the necessary tools to handle that, like I feel so good about our culture. And I feel good about preserving that. I feel so great about our team member. I feel great about I think a lot of our leaders feel great about even our satellite offices. So thank you so much, ladies, for coming on. And
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And if y'all have any other insights or anything that we should unpack, please send those to podcast@danielstarklaw.com. Till then, stay remarkable.
Get ready, drop the confetti. Get ready, drop